much. Thank you very much for accepting this interview. I'm going to start about Inspiral Carpets, your band. So, what prompted you to go into music?
Probably my father, who was very musical. He was in bands from very early, from probably being about 15. He was always in bands, and then never really made it. Not for him to try and then he went on the cabaret circuit, so he's kind of been sort of semi-professional for many years. Still plays, but more for fun. He doesn't do it to earn a living anymore, but he just encouraged me. So ever since I can remember, I've always watched my dad performing on stage, and then at the end of the night when they used to play, and a lot of the musicians used to leave, the drum kit used to be set up, and I used to bash about on the drum kit, and then my dad turned up one day with a drum kit for me, so I was like, right.
Yeah, why drums? Why?
I don't know, he just asked me, he said, well, if you ever want to learn an instrument, just let me know, what do you fancy? And then just because I messed about on the drums before,
okay.
Just, you know, obviously just...
And do you play another instrument?
Instruments play? No, I tried at least once before to learn the guitar, and not stuck to it, but my daughter, my eldest daughter, who's 12, she's been having lessons from her dad, so I've been going with her, so I've been learning a few chords, but
yeah, sure.
No.
That's cool. Have you always wanted to be part of a rock and roll band?
Always, as long as you can remember, yeah.
Do you want
no, to be honest, from the age of about 12 or 13, since I first discovered the Smiths and played some early vinyl records. My dad used to go out working, as I say, doing the clubs. My eldest brother was supposed to be looking after me, and he used to go out because he was like 6 years older than me, so he'd be like going out and sneaking into pubs. So a lot of the time I was left at home on my own at like 12 or something to fend for myself. So I'm just bored and just playing through some of my brother's records, what he'd borrowed. And
which records?
I can only remember a couple of them that were there in that bunch, and one was Bronski Beat, Small Town Boy track, which I thought was okay, and the other one that kind of changed my life was Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now by the Smiths. You know, just the cover looked great. There's a woman in the 60s, beehive hair, doing stuff like that. And I was like, you know, something from early sort of Coronation Street, and that sort of intrigued me. And then I played it over and over again, and then just sort of felt like the Smiths, there was a connection there, and it was like nothing before musically really had kind of sort of had that impact on me. So from that moment I wanted to be in a band, but it was almost like the Smiths were like from Mars or something, you know, they were like there with the quiffs and the rockabilly gear, so it was almost like, yeah, you know, I'd like to do this, but wasn't kind of convinced. And then sort of getting into bands and stuff, and then sort of discovering bands like Happy Mondays and realising that, you know, they're sort of dressed like you and everything. You could relate to a band like that a lot more.
Because you can identify.
Yeah, pretty much, because they're kind of like dressed like you, and sort of you just look like they were normal lads who'd just come from the football match, which Inspirals were. So a lot of the time, a lot of the bands that I kind of went for a lot of auditions early on, because my dad said playing the drums on your own you won't get any experience, so he used to put me in for auditions, and a lot of the bands that I went to play with, they were all kind of leather jackets and leather trousers and kind of I don't know, just kind of had that image of I'm in a band sort of thing, which I never had. So meeting the Sparrows was definitely another sort of great life-changing moment.
Yeah, sure, for sure, yeah. What does the name Inspiral Carpets come from?
To be honest, I couldn't tell you.
Really?
Yeah, Graham, the guitarist, formed the band in his garage. A few local kids, so they'd kind of been around, or the name had been around for at least a year, maybe 2 years before I joined, although not sort of on a serious level. And Graham is always messing about, and I never really asked him, but the only time I've heard the question being asked a lot in interviews, and Graham makes up a different answer each time. It's almost, I don't know if he's like got bored of answering the questions, he comes up with a different answer, so I'm not too sure which is the real answer. I spoke to one of the original members that said he was with Graham when they sat opening a dictionary and it came out of the dictionary, but I don't really believe that because Inspiral is not a proper word, it's a sort of amalgamation of spiral and inspirational, so I don't see how they could have got that out of the dictionary, but I honestly don't know.
Alright, thank you. Which Inspired Carpet song do you think it represents Manchester the best?
Definitely Sackville from the first album, which was wrote from our offices on Sackville Street, which is now, that area is known as a gay village, but back in the day it was sort of red light district, and it was quite seedy, so there was a lot of comings and goings and strange sort of business deals being done on the street, should we say, and our keyboard player Clint, he wrote a song just looking out the window, like an observational song. So there's a few of the early stuff that is kind of inspired by Manchester. I think as the band got bigger, I think a lot of the songwriting was inspired by our travels and things we saw on our travels, especially America with some of the late stuff like Saturn V and Uniform, but definitely Sackville is probably the song that most represents Manchester.
Alright, okay. Which role do you think you and your band played in the Manchester musical history?
Looking back, a very big part, I'd say.
Wow.
Didn't feel like that at the time, because kind of like just being in the eye of the storm, really. You just kind of was going with it, and you didn't know whether once the dust has settled, whether Manchester, or Manchester as it's now known, would kind of stand the test of time. You always thought it would, but you don't know till years down the line, and then it's only with sort of the advent of 24-hour party people and a film like that, you can kind of look back and say, wow, it kind of was, that scene was bigger than punk, really, I think. Some people may argue, I wasn't around in the punk days, really. But someone like Alan McGee, who kind of lived through both, moved to Manchester to be closer to the Manchester scene, and he says it was bigger than punk, definitely that scene. So yeah, looking back, we were a big part of it. We weren't we were one of the major players. We weren't on Factory, and we weren't the Stone Roses, but we were definitely up there that kind of us being slightly different, almost kind of enhanced the scene and made it different, really, made it what it was.
Yeah. Do you often meet up with fellow artists from Manchester?
Not so much nowadays.
How come?
Well, we're all getting old now, so we're all semi-retired.
How could this be possible?
Well, you'll see tonight when you're coming in tonight. There's great history of this building. The crowd is very young that comes in here, and I think kind of a lot of it's lost. And I think not so much. You feel old. I mean, I don't feel old when I'm on that side of the decks, but if I was on the dance floor, I'd probably feel a bit older. I just think it's a lot of the people that were on the scene. We've done our fair share of clubbing and going out, and we've all got sort of busy lives and families, so we don't get out as much. But I do kind of bump into a lot of the other guys from the music scene on the sort of DJ circuit when they do celebrity guest slots. So, DJed in the past sort of couple of years, DJed with Peter Rook, Tim Burgess, Bez, Andy Rowe, Mike Joyce.
Okay.
You know.
But not the Gaggers, not the brothers.
No, I haven't. No, I know Paul, the eldest, is on the
Yeah.
DJ circuit, but I haven't
met him
DJed
last
with
year.
him. Yeah. I haven't done any work with him, but it could happen, possibly one day.
Sure. But do you do this on purpose to organize some meeting? No, you don't.
No. It's like I say, it's hard to get them out. You only get them out if you're paying them good money to turn up and DJ. But not on purpose, you know. There's every now and again there's a band that's coming through that maybe sort of hotly tipped, and you bump into a couple of people there that are checking them out. But I mean, I'm DJing 3 nights a week, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, so I'm very rarely out apart from when I'm working, and I don't get to many gigs, not as many as I'd like to. But I mean, I went to a gig last week. A friend of mine's playing with Jess from A Certain Ratio.
Oh yeah.
And there was an old member of Martin Moscrop who used to be in A Certain Ratio was there. So I've seen a few of the old faces down there. Simon Wollstonecroft, who used to play with The Fall, he was drumming with him. I've not seen him for a good few years. He was in the early Stone Roses, I think, when they were called The Patrol as well. So again, you know, every now and again you bump into people.
All right. Did you spend all your musical career in Manchester?
Yes, Manchester and Oldham, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we were always travelling with Inspirals, sort of pretty much on the road a lot of the time, so it didn't feel like you were spending all your time in Manchester. When Inspiral Carpet split up, formed a band called Proud Mary, and they were sort of alternative country before it was kind of tagged alternative country, and we used to rehearse out in a barn in the middle of Saddleworth Moors, in the middle of nowhere, freezing cold, right, surrounded by all these sheep, and it was like a good place to kind of make music. It's good surroundings, especially that sort of type of music, and it was completely the opposite kind of style to Inspiral Carpets, which was all kind of breakneck garage, sort of fast punky type stuff, especially live. And then we sort of went off to this barn and made a lot of music that was sort of quite laid back and almost could have been from sort of I don't know, West Coast America or somewhere like that. So yeah, Manchester and Oldham. There's been a lot of creativity sort of come out of Oldham. There was a studio in Oldham. The Joy Division used to do all the demos, which a guy that I now know bought it, turned it into another place called Mirage, and a lot of bands recorded there. And there's a place around the corner of Rochdale that was Cargo Studios, and Joy Division used to use that quite a lot. Peter Hook actually bought that studio, so in these little small satellite towns has produced quite a lot of music. Even Elbow then and left from sort of Bury, which is again it's probably about 7 miles out of Manchester, a little satellite town.
So you feel gripped in the city?
Yeah, but I mean, kind of
magnets,
I've got the best of both worlds really, because you've got the city and everything going on, and then you sort of where I live in Greenfield, it's quite rural as well, so you've got this sort of little kind of village type life as well, so you kind of got the best of both worlds, which are both good, both very creative.
That's true. Last question. I mean, for the Inspiral Carpets part.
Alright, well, that was quick.
No.
Look at half an hour yet.
How did you end up DJing?
Funnily enough, I've been DJing for nearly as long as I've been drumming. Bought early decks, early vinyl decks. When Inspiral Carpets formed, shortly after, I got into a lot of hip hop music, Public Enemy, Beastie Boys, stuff like that, and always intrigued by the DJing, so I used to sort of mess about with hip hop records and basically just doing the hip hop stuff and trying to mix 2 records together and scratching and stuff. Started doing that, but obviously bought like the sort of alternative guitar stuff, American bands like Husker Du as well at the same time. So I'd always collected records and obviously later on CDs, but especially sort of vinyl. I'd always collected records, so it used to be a sort of bedroom thing, and then when Spiral Carpets took off and I got my own house, I had a sort of little studio and a drum kit and deck set up, and people always used to come back after the Hacienda had parties and DJs used to come back, and then I started just playing a little bit in the house, and then did my first gig as a celebrity spot in a club called Home. I was on with Paul Oakenfold. He was on the main room, very famous club DJ. A guy called Jeremy Healy, who's another sort of big name, and I did a little celebrity slot in the middle room, and the guys that run it were quite shocked because a lot of the other celebrity guys came down and kind of just broke the equipment and threw up all over it and like couldn't DJ, and when I came down I could actually DJ, so they actually give me a regular slot, kind of babysitting the celebrity DJs and looking after them. And from there it just spiraled. Someone put my name forward for the Hacienda job when they were looking for a new student night, and somebody said, oh, he doesn't play indie music, does he? I said, yeah, he's got everything, he can play anything, he's got a massive collection of music. And went down and did that, and that kind of tied in well with, as opposed to the dance stuff, it fitted in well with the background from Spiral Carpets. You know, it's a good name to put on the flyer. And we used to have like 3 on-side bands playing in the 5th man downstairs, and it was a really busy night. The students loved it. About £2 in and £1 a drink. We used to get 1,000 people regularly on a Tuesday night.
It's good money.
But unfortunately, Hacienda collapsed sort of 2 years after that. So it was just a natural thing, because I basically started at the Hacienda of the year in Spiral Carpets, split up in '95.
Okay, yeah.
So it was kind of like, you know, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've got to do. I didn't really, like I say, I didn't really stick around at school long enough to do any exams, so I didn't have any qualifications. So it was a great thing to fall back on. And
yeah, sure.
Been
nice alternative.
Been the main, yeah. Well, it's been the main income since '95 really.
Okay. So what's natural for you to DJ here, where we are right now?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Factory.
Yeah, it was.
Did Peter Hook ask you to DJ?
No, it was funnily enough the guy that Peter Hook's gone into business with, a guy called Aaron Mellor, and he used to come in the Hacienda when I used to DJ there, and he said he was opening a club in Oldham. He wanted me to go and DJ, and that was about '96 or something like that. 96, 97. So I went down and DJ for him down there, so I've known him ever since. So I was actually with him when he got the call saying he'd got this place, put an offering for it and got it, and he was telling me that he was going to bring Peter Hook in and all these plans for it, and yeah, it was only a matter of time really that I come here. I think yeah, it was only right, obviously with the history of the Hacienda, then it was destiny.
Okay. Well, what does Manchester mean to you?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah.
Home.
Home.
Yeah.
That's
Just
home.
Just home, just a creative place. It's something that you won't get really many people from Manchester saying. You know, I mean, back in the day, we used to do all the T-shirts and the Seventh Day God Created Manchester.
Yeah. What do you think about this, actually?
I think.
Is it true?
I think obviously the big people commercially just kind of cashing in back in the day, but to be honest, you never really kind of look back and say, oh, Manchester is great, it's better than any other town, because we didn't know any different. You know, we didn't know what to compare it to. You know, until we started travelling. Obviously now we can look back and obviously researching the book and realising I'm still learning about this place. You know what I mean? To do the book and to do the tours, I had to learn a lot about the natural history of Manchester, and then, you know, all the bands and all the little things and all the actors and everything that have come through here. It's phenomenal for you know, what is quite a small city really, for such a small place. I mean, there's more rock and pop stars per capita population than any other city.
But don't you think it's a perfect size?
Yeah, it's great
In a way.
size. Great size for doing tours because you can walk from one side to the other in 15 minutes, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's what's give it its vibe. It's give it its vibe, and that sort of communal sense is that it's just the right size. I think London's just kind of too spread out really to kind of have any one scene. I mean, you see from the tours how closely situated the boardwalk was to the Hacienda, and Joy Division's rehearsal was more or less rehearsal room was on the same street, and everything's just, you know, sort of within. There's always something within walking distance. But until sort of the last few years, everyone from Manchester's always been looking forward. So there's not been ones to say, "Oh, Manchester's the best place in the world to live," because, you know, it's not perfect. You know what I mean? It's not a perfect place to live, and in the 70s and 80s it was quite run down, it was quite violent, and you kind of just, it was just a place where you grew up. You never really knew anywhere else, so you didn't know what to compare it to. So that's kind of still how I feel about it really, but I'm obviously flying the flag a lot more now for Manchester.
Yeah, but now you can compare it and you're still in Manchester.
Oh yeah. But you know, I can't see me ever moving from Manchester, but
why?
If I did, well, I don't know, I'm just so connected to the place. At the moment, obviously, doing the tours and DJing in the best clubs, that, you know, almost to go and live somewhere else, you'd just be a stranger, wouldn't you? Just be another face in the crowd. But, you know, if I was to live somewhere else, you know, I like San Francisco. I like Brighton.
Okay.
You know, so the world doesn't revolve around Manchester, but it'll always be a great place for bands and to come through, and creative people in general to do what they want to do and achieve the goal, and that is make a living doing something that they love doing.
How do you explain the fact that Manchester is an inspirational city in the lyrics of the Mancunian bands? How do you explain that Manchester is every lyrics, and not every lyrics, but most of the lyrics of the Mancunian bands? How do you explain that?
Just because I think that with a band from Manchester coming through, if they were to start singing songs about New York, people just wouldn't wear it. You know, because they're just like, you know,
sure,
never
but they
been
could
to New York,
speak
you know.
about, I don't know, love stories or other theme, but they speak about the city. And no other thing. I mean, is the city, and the city, and only the city.
Yeah, I mean, the best songwriters are observational songwriters, and I don't know. I mean, the Smiths really did it perfectly, and more than any other band, and they're still massively influential. So whether that inspires other bands, maybe like the Cortinas, to start singing about their hometown as well, I don't know. Whether they just do that naturally. You know, people just sing about what's around them, and that way it's more true to life and more believable. You know, sometimes, you know, some bands they go and they just want to play down the local club or local pub and appeal to those kids and sing to them and sing about their own life, and that kind of, hopefully that'll have some sort of an appeal. Do you know what I mean? But I think with the band Proud Mary, I think they suffered a lot because they're quite American sounding, and they didn't sound like sort of. I put a CD together for the book launch party and put all Manchester bands on there, and I put this Proud Mary on there, and it just didn't fit in with a lot of the other stuff. It did sound like it was from America, and maybe that's why they never really made it properly, even with on Noel Gallagher's label and his support. They still never made it, but you know, maybe should have been a bit more Manchester sounding and sung about rainy, dirty streets, prostitution, and drug taking.